Hey friends. So I got a little struggle going on. I've I'm looking at some possibilities for um, what to do with this next year. Feels like I've kind of landed at the end of January with some open road, some time, and some options, and I'm finding myself unexpectedly kind of struggling with choosing which of these options is right, where to say yes, where to say no. And this is something that it's a little bit, I don't know, unsettling, because I don't usually have trouble with this kind of decision. I sort of tend to know this is where I want to go. This is not where I want to go. I've spoken about this some over the past, couple of months. I've had some real clarity on my nose lately, like just willing to say, okay, not that. But one thing that shows up for me as I reflect on not so much the individual choices, but the process of choosing, something that becomes apparent to me as I take a look at all this, is there's a there's a thing in deep inner work, spiritual practice, whatever we want to call the kind of finding the silence within ourselves, where we have to prioritize and really invest in silence, stillness, and in some ways, nothingness. No-thing-ness has to become as important to us as any things are. And I think, and generally, when I can get to that place, when I can go there, choosing things gets pretty easy, because that space is it's almost like we settle our entire mind, our entire psyche, our entire consciousness into a place of deep possibility, of infinite possibility, and we settle into our own nature. We sort of get comfortable. It's like I naturally align with my own inner nature when I'm in that place. And so from there, when I'm not in kind of like resistance or in some sort of tug of war with my own nature, making decisions gets a lot easier. And having clarity is sort of a natural outgrowth of that. It's not something where I don't have to work too hard at it. It just kind of is what shows up when I'm in that place. And so my struggle right now, what I'm articulating right now, is an experience that I can, to some extent anyway, I can look to that. I can look to where I am. And, you know, in a lot of ways, it's like, I must not be fully settled into that space if I'm having a struggle, right? That's sort of it's one of the things we can assume. You know, it's like diagnosing an illness by knowing what the symptoms are. So I'm diagnosing my illness. I'm clearly not settled into that place, that omnipotent space of ease, which I don't like. It's not. I always feel kind of embarrassed admitting that, because especially, you know, on my video post, it's like, this is the place where I commit to being in the highest place that I can muster, the highest place I can be today. That's what this post is about for me. It's about arriving there, claiming that territory, and then speaking from there. So when I can tell that I'm a little bit, you know, or when there's a symptom that indicates you might need to do just a little sitting in silence, Mr. Holloway. There's a lesson there for me. And I think, you know, that's one of the reasons why when I sat down to do my post today, and I realized where I was, and I realized what the primary kind of fixation or struggle for me is right now, I was like, okay, well, I gotta go for that. That's what I gotta talk about, because if I talk about something else, I'll just be avoiding it, and it won't either be deep or create progress. So, you know, I think part of the issue, and this is something I've seen many, many times, part of the issue is that all of us, unless we're enlightened beings, we have territory within us that we include, that is kind of available to us. It's not obstructed. We can see it. We can own it. It may not be comfortable. There may be content in there that we don't like. Things about ourselves that we want to change, or that we, you know, that make us cringe a little bit. But that's fine. If we can see it, and if we're willing to own it, then we're also allowed to have feelings about it. And those feelings are not gonna, as long as they don't get so intense or so taboo that we suddenly feel like we need to reject something and just not look, it's fine to have those feelings and to sort of like have a response to that content. But then there's content that we can't see. And usually it's because some part of us is defending ourselves against it. We don't want to see it. We're afraid to see it. We're, you know, we are not flattered by it. We think it somehow threatens our overall sense of self. And that content is the stuff that we can look all day for it, and we're not going to see it by looking for it. It's not going to show up that way, because it already knows how to hide. It already knows where to go to stay out of sight. And I think one of the complications that can happen when we're in a struggle, speaking from very first-hand experience here, is that I start looking for the things that I can't see. it's like I'm supposed to be able to see something that will make my choice clear, or that will give me peace of mind about this decision or that avenue or this option, whatever. And that's not how that works. That's not that's stuff that I'm looking for. First of all, I might be looking for something that doesn't exist. And I'm probably not seeing something that does exist. And quite possibly those two things are related. I'm looking for something that doesn't exist in order to avoid seeing something that does exist. And again, I'm sort of like doing my best to transparently diagnose myself here, because it's, you know, I've had a few days now, a couple of weeks actually, where I've been a little bit, haven't been meditating as much as usual, and I've been a little bit buffeted, I would say. And, you know, I kind of know the answer. I told you the answer in the first 3 minutes of this video. It's sitting in stillness, finding the place of silence, and then proceeding. Because from there, there's no wrong choices, there's no wrong answers, there's no right answers either. But that struggle between, sometimes it feels like a struggle between no-thing-ness and something-ness. And by and large, my experience is that settling into no-thing-ness is that's the higher place. That's the higher vibration. That's the place from which all the other stuff becomes subsidiary, it becomes subordinate, it becomes visible and manageable. From within something-ness, not only are we not able to connect with no-thing-ness, but we can't even really connect with very much something-ness, because there's stuff everywhere, there's clutter, and it's not oriented, it's not arranged in a hierarchy, so things kind of look like they have the same value, or like they have equivalent merit, and it's hard to choose, and it's, you know, it's kind of a mess. So I have diagnosed my issue. I think I'm just about ready to prescribe my corrective measure, my palliative, which is to find some silence. Find some silence and be present. And let what I already know actually show up. Let it kind of just like bubble up into my visual field. So I'm kind of talking you through a little bit of a abstract process here. I mean, it's actually not very abstract, it's quite concrete, but it involves allowing subtle energy to move and being kind of responsive to things that might be non-literal cues, non-linear information. So I'm trying to give myself that gift and talk myself into that place, because I can tell that the scramble, the sort of mental hamster wheel, wasn't going to get me there. So that's where I am today, folks. I've not landed, but I think I've stepped into a different kind of process that offers a little bit more promise, a little bit more possibility for settling and locating a place from which to make good choices. Not right choices, not wrong choices, just good choices. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.